sound volunteers, and it's fun. Somebody today who tried it for the first time really liked it. We need those folks. We need musicians in various musical groups, and this may be the time for you to start. And invite you to be aware next Sunday is Human Relations Day. That's a special offering if you're so inclined. And you can sign up today for the NDFL program and lunch. That is New Designs for Living. How old do you have to be in that? 40 or more? I don't know, but you probably, if you want to come, you can come. And it's always good. That's January 17th at 11:30 with the program and lunch. And you can sign up in the Friendship Center today to come to that. I do encourage you also to please fill out the yellow insert in your bulletin to tell us that you're here and other things you may want to say, and place that in the offering plate later on in the service. Check in on Facebook if you are. Like our page and follow the posts and share them, and that's a great way to tell people what's happening here at First United Methodist Church. It's easy, and you can do it if you're on Facebook. This is indeed the day that God has made, Epiphany Sunday. And so let us rejoice and be glad and worship together.
Oh God of all time, we praise and adore you for breaking into the darkness of this world with the glorious light of your presence. This light made your love for the world visible in the babe born in Bethlehem. This light guided those gift-bearing travelers from afar to find and worship the Christ child. This light leads us to you. We pray that you will accept our worship, for it arises from hearts and minds in awe over the enormity of your gifts to us. Hear our love. Amen.
Scripture this morning is from Psalms 72, verses 1 through 7 and 10 through 14. Give the king your justice, O God, and your righteousness to a king's son. May he judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. May the mountains yield prosperity for the people and the hills in righteousness. May he defend the cause of the poor of the people, give deliverance to the needy, and crush the oppressor. May he live while the sun endures, and as long as the moon, throughout all generations. May he be like rain that falls on the mown grass, like showers that water the earth. In his days may righteousness flourish and peace abound, until the moon is no more. May the kings of Tarshish and the isles render him tribute. May the kings of Sheba and Seba bring gifts. May all the kings fall down before him, all nations give him service. For he delivers the needy when they call, the poor and those who have no help. He has pity on the weak and the needy, and saves the lives of the needy. From oppression and violence, he redeems their life, and precious is their blood in his sight.
Let's hear together this story from Matthew's account of the gospel. We jumped there from the stories that we've been reading from Luke. And here on this Epiphany Sunday, the story of the visit of the wise men to the infant Jesus. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. This is the written word of God for all of God's people.
Thanks be to God.
Amen. So you don't ask the king, "Where's the king?" That's what the late great, I didn't make that up, okay? It's good, isn't it? You don't ask the king, "Where's the king?" That's what Fred Craddock, the great and late preacher and teacher of preachers, said in a lecture that I heard several years ago. You don't ask the king, "Where's the king?" Sort of like asking the preacher, "Where's the preacher?" Or asking mom, "Where's mom?" Or asking the CEO, "Where's the CEO?" Where is the child born King of the Jews? That's what the wise men asked. But the problem is, he's the king of the Jews. Herod is the king of the Jews. It's been declared in no uncertain terms that Herod is to be referred to in precisely that way, King of the Jews. Now, do the people of Israel want Herod to be king of the Jews? No, not really. After all, he's not one of them. He is not one of them. He's a Roman, and the Roman government now occupies and rules Israel, and there's no greater symbol of that than King Herod. King Herod is the king of the Jews, whether they like it or not, and they don't. So when these wise men from the east come demanding to learn the whereabouts of the child born king of the Jews, well, he must be somewhere in Jerusalem after all. Matthew tells us Herod is frightened and all Jerusalem with him. Herod is afraid, I suppose, because a child he knows nothing about, born to be king of the Jews, is a threat to his power. Isn't that what kings get? Power, right? And all of Jerusalem is frightened too. Why? I don't really know. They've been waiting for a king, one like King David, one who will help them overthrow the Romans and get their independence back. So, who is the child born to be king of the Jews? Sounds to me like good news for people like them. But what if you upset the king who's already a king? Better just to leave well enough alone, don't you think? He is jealous and paranoid. Sometimes people in power are jealous and paranoid, aren't they? Sometimes we are too, aren't we? Sometimes rulers are threatened by other rulers, aren't they? And sometimes we are also. So Herod goes and calls together all the religious leaders to determine where this one is to be born, whom the visitors have come to see instead of him. Isn't that what kings and queens and rulers of various sorts do sometimes because they have to, even if they talk a good line about God and faith and values and religion? They have to call in the experts about those things because they themselves really don't know always what they're talking about. So the experts tell him it's Bethlehem. Bethlehem, sir, that's where he is supposed to be born, Bethlehem. So Herod, the king of the Jews, calls for the wise men and sends them on to Bethlehem to search for the child who has been born king of the Jews, demanding that they come on back by on their way home with the exact location of said child so that he may go and also worship him. Only King Herod has no plans whatsoever of worshiping Jesus. He has plans to kill him. Isn't that what kings and queens and rulers and even people who live in ordinary places like you and me do sometimes when we're scared? They kill each other. Or something like that anyway. So when they leave the king of the Jews, they did not come to see, for the king of the Jews they did come to see. When finally they arrive safe and sound in Bethlehem, they open their luggage and offer gifts of gold for a king, frankincense for a servant of God, and myrrh for the burial of someone who is going to suffer and die. So, who is the real king here? And who are the wise men? For all this talk about kings, it's important for us to know who the wise men are and why they've come searching for Jesus in the first place. The answer to the latter, I really don't know other than to say that they are curious types and they like to follow stars. As for who they are, the most important thing, I suppose, is that they are not Jewish. They are not descended from Abraham. They're not a part of the religious or social or political or cultural makeup of Israel. In other words, they are foreigners and outsiders, and even the kind of people the Old Testament warns good religious people like us to stay away from. So, if he is the king, if it's true, if about this infant Jesus, the first thing this child King Jesus does is to reach across political and social and racial and cultural and religious categories and boundaries in an effort to draw all people to himself. All people. These wise men, willing to go and set out on a long journey to God knows where, for goodness knows how long, for the purpose of offering gifts to a little child of all things, are clear reminders to us that Jesus, if he really is King of the Jews, is the King also of anyone and everyone who will allow him to be King. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's finish the story. Having offered their gifts, the wise men are warned in a dream not to tell the king where the king is, not to tell the big king where the little king is. In other words, there's something bigger going on here, something supernatural that is protecting little King Jesus from big King Herod. And why should we be surprised, given that little King Jesus' birth has already been announced far beyond the usual scope, and by, shall we say, the most atypical means. So, who is the king? Don't answer too quickly. Herod is a good leader. He's a great builder. He is known to be generous even to the poor. And that is not a bad resume. That's pretty good. He's not an entirely bad guy. He's just really, really human, like you and I are human, only in the worst of ways, not the least of which is that he is suspicious and murderous. Kings and queens and rulers and people with power can be suspicious and murderous sometimes, can't they? And he's afraid. Herod is afraid. So before we answer too quickly who the real king is, maybe we ought to admit that we are also afraid and give a little bit of thought this week to what it is that we are afraid of. A lot to be afraid of. Of course we're afraid. Of course all of Jerusalem is afraid. We're all afraid. And so what do? We go and we pick a ruler that we think will make us less afraid and more secure, like Trump or Obama or Hillary, or capitalism or money or possessions or a busy job or the political left or the political right or maybe even the political center, or strength or intelligence or even, why not, even our crazy selves. I will be the ruler of me. Thank you very much. And I want to tell Herod, I want to kind of take him aside, put my arm around him and say, it's okay, bud, don't be afraid, because Jesus does not want your job. He does not want your job. So just go on, be King Herod, and get over it. You're fine. You'll be all right. But King Jesus is not your average king. All authority rests on his shoulders, if we can be nuts enough to believe that. All political power is second, at best, to his power, if you call him king, if you can believe that. So maybe it's not always so easy to separate politics from religion after all. If they start following King Jesus, they're going to expect a few changes from King Herod, like less self-defense maybe, and more concern for the ones who have no money and no power and no voice. King Jesus speaks of kingdom not in terms of domination and hierarchy, but in terms of the last being first, and the teacher washing the disciples' feet, and the outcast being welcomed, and the mighty being brought down from their thrones, and the lowly being lifted up, and the servant of all being called greatest of all. And he will ultimately, finally, be a king on a cross with a crown of thorns on his head. the victim of kings and rulers and religious leaders, just like the ones in today's story. And if that does not cause you and me to pause and think a minute and to question, is this guy, could he really be king? Then I'm afraid we've really not seen him for who he is. And Epiphany, the season of revealing Jesus to the whole world, really turns to nothing at all if we refuse to see him for who he really is. So you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people, Israel. Shepherd. Shepherd, a king, a ruler who is a shepherd. Or as George MacDonald wrote, they all were looking for a king to slay their foes and lift them high. Thou camest a little baby thing that made a woman cry. So don't answer too quickly when I ask you, who is the king here? Don't be so fast. It's not an easy thing to answer truly who is king. Let us pray. God and ruler of all, we come on this Epiphany Sunday like the wise men, and we bow down and we worship and we say that Jesus is our King and our ruler, and yet we confess and know how many rulers we have in our lives. And it's hard for us to think sometimes that our deeds do not match our words, and that the one we say is ruler is not always ruler of our lives. Help us, give us hope, give us encouragement, give us some more love. God, we need so much love from you and from each other, so that Jesus may be more and more and more and more truly the ruler of our lives, eliciting from us behavior and speech that is pleasing to him and to you, and that builds up your reign of love in this world where we live. In the name of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, we pray, humbly and with hope. Amen.
Christ our Lord invites us to his table. All who love him will earnestly repent of their sin and seek to live in peace with one another. Therefore, let us now confess our sins together before God and one another. Please join me. Merciful God, we confess that we have not loved you with our whole heart. We have failed to be an obedient church. We have not done your will. We have broken your law. We have rebelled against your love. And we have not loved our neighbors. And we have not heard the cry of the needy. Forgive us, we pray. Free us for joyful obedience. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Hear this good news. Christ died for us while we were yet sinners. That proves God's love towards us. In the name of Jesus Christ, you are forgiven. In the name of Jesus Christ, you are forgiven. Glory to God. Amen. And now, as a forgiven and reconciled people, let us offer ourselves and our gifts to God.
We praise your name and join their unending hymn. Holy